No, it's going a little slow. We had an ice storm here the other day. It must be really cold in New York, huh?
It was pretty cold. It's starting to warm up a little bit, but we take shelter of the subways and just layer up.
That's where the subversive people live.
It's
Okay, let's go ahead.
subterranean.
Gauraganya gana go to Goloruharam Gauranga Gudatamago Purakopa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachia Dile Kokola Kahe Premananda Emona Goranga Hridoya Dariya Bola Bhaja Goranga Kaha Goranga Laha Gorangera Namare Jai Jana Goranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Prana Re Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhye Prema Buddhan Paramapumata Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Sri Kriyat Kripaya Jari Tadaiva Sambhaya Pidva Rishe Yustat Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathapta Brajabala Bapahimam Vanchakalpatarubhischa Kripasthindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So it seems like my camera is not working, huh? Can you see me?
No, no, we
All
can't.
right. I know this somehow this is Leela Purushottam's fault. I haven't figured that out yet exactly, but I'm sure it is. So I'm going to just go off and come back in a moment here. Hare Krishna. Let's see. I'm assigning Siddha Hari Prabhu as being the host. Don't let it go to your head, Prabhu. If he tries to like start controlling everybody, let me know. Everything's so complicated.
I can see you.
Yeah, I can see myself too. No, I can't set myself up as the host. I gave it to 𝗍𝗏 and he's trying to control everything now. Can I have it back, 𝗍𝗏 Prabhu? I'm the host now. Okay. Here we go.
There you go, Prabhu.
Oh no, but it doesn't, it's not giving me, come on.
𝗍𝗏 Prabhu's reign of terror is over.
It doesn't give me an option to go to YouTube.
Can you share screen or YouTube?
Okay, I'm just going to record it and upload it later. It says it's on YouTube right now. I don't know. I'm going to record it anyway too. Can I record it? Okay. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad-Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. So we can recite some prayer to Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Shri Krishna Nama Amrita Vaishivaktra Chandra Prabhadvasta Tamo Baraya Gauranga Deva Anucharaya Tasmai Namo Nama Shri Narottamaya. Again and again, I offer my obeisances unto Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He's a true follower of Lord Gauranga Deva. The nectarian shower of the holy name of Krishna radiating from the moon of his mouth destroys the darkness of ignorance. So we're continuing with Prem Bhakti Chandrika, and we're on the 6th song now, which speaks about the Vraja Gopis. We finished, actually the 6th song is 5th song, I mean. It's Raganuga Bhakti Riti. And in our last couple sessions, we spoke on the first verse of this song, beginning with Raghera Bhajana Pata, and how this is he's going to speak now about the path of Raganuga Bhakti. And we spoke a little something about that. So I'm not going to review really anything for this session, especially since we're so late. I'm sorry to everybody. But we're going to read 2 verses today, text 2 and 3, which kind of go together. And I'll go ahead and put those on the board. Shri Radhikara Saki Jata Tahaba Kahiva Kata Mukya Saki Kori He Ganam Lalita Vishaka Tata Suchitra Champakalata Rangadevi Sudevi Katan Tangabidya Indureka Ashta Saki Leka Bekahe Narma Saki Gan Ihon Seva Sahachari Priya Preshta Namadari Prema Seva Kori Anukshan. The different types of sakis are unlimited, countless. Therefore, I've only described the principal ones. Lalita, Vishaka, Suchitra, Champakalata, Rangadevi, Sudevi, Tungavidya, Indureka are the 8 principal sakis. They are the most beloved companions of Sri Radhika and are constantly serving their lordships with profound love. They are most intimately associated with Radha and Krishna. So this is above my pay level, this topic today. We should understand something about the subject matter. This is what it means to be a Gaudiya Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada once was having a conversation with the editors of Back to Godhead, and he was speaking with them about standards. And they were asking so many different questions. And then they asked a question about the gopis. And this is one of my favorite comments from Srila Prabhupada. You probably heard this before. Prabhupada said the policy should be that people may not understand gopis like ordinary girls. Actually, at first Prabhupada said, no, don't print anything about the gopis. And he paused and he said this, the policy should be that the people may not understand gopis like ordinary girls or like that. You should be careful to present the gopis. But it does not mean that we shall not utter even the name of gopis. We've taken a vow to boycott the gopis? No. They are our worshipable devotees. How can we avoid them? So that's a pretty significant statement from Srila Prabhupada in 1969 in Boston, Massachusetts, with a staff of Back to Godhead magazine. This was a standard for ISKCON, and Prabhupada said very clearly, how can we avoid them? So we can't avoid them. The whole purpose of this movement is about the gopis. But as Srila Prabhupada is commenting, our policy should be that people don't misunderstand the gopis and think they're like ordinary girls. And Srila Prabhupada himself spoke so much about the gopis in Krishna book and also Nectar Devotion. So we want to brave ahead and do that. I wanted to start off with this statement because sometimes devotees, they have a misunderstanding, I think, that it's completely illegal. It's a little complicated. See, the problem is, I think that a lot of times we don't understand who we are or what the temple is for or what our bhajan is for. We haven't made very simple definitions. If simple definitions are there, then so many things become resolved. How can we boycott the gopis if you're a Gaudiya Vaishnava? It's ridiculous. But at the same time, I've experienced myself. We were speaking the other day, we took a group of devotees to the birthplace of 𝗣𝗿𝗺𝗺 Pandit. And what do you do when you go to 𝗣𝗿𝗺𝗺 Pandit's place? You speak something about Radharani and the gopis, which I did, and speaking about 𝗣𝗿𝗺 also. And I got heavily censored for that. It's my fault. I should be careful who I'm speaking to. But at the same time, this is our life. We're not Ramanuja Vaishnavas. We're not Madhva Vaishnavas. We're Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And Radha and Krishna and the gopis are our everything. But as Srila Prabhupada says nicely here, this is a real good sutra, this statement Prabhupada gave to the BTG editors. The policy should be that people may not understand the gopis like ordinary girls. Okay, so we shouldn't do that. And I don't think anybody in this discussion today is going to do that. You should be careful to present the gopis, okay? We should be careful. But it doesn't mean we should not utter even their names. We've taken a vow to boycott the gopis. No, they are worshipful devotees. How can we avoid them? So don't boycott the gopis. That's what Srila Prabhupada is saying. But we should hear something about it. But the controversy, first of all, comes, let's address that clearly so we understand something, that it's a question of adhikar. And this adhikar now comes from Shraddha, comes from faith. And if someone is hearing with faith and they have faith in the gopis, then what's the problem? But the problem is if we speak this thing at the Sunday feast program in the temple in Brooklyn, you're going to get censored. And rightly so. It's not appropriate. But how can we not speak of something about it with the devotees? Srila Prabhupada gave us this in Krishna book. At the same time, for our position, we're so neophyte, we're not as neophyte as someone walking in off the street. We're much better. We have some faith. We're doing some bhajan. We're reading Krishna book with faith. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that this is going to become our sadhana, our main sadhana. I'm going to start meditating on myself as a gopi or this or that. Srila Prabhupada was very concerned about that. But Srila Prabhupada also gave us all these things from the very beginning, as we spoke in our last session. So we should understand, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says, one of my favorite mantras, that such a thing exists. Right? and we should put it in that place. And so we should know the thing exists and what it looks like. And we offer our pranams to it, and then we'll know where to go. But if I want to travel to some distant place and I don't know which direction to go, I don't know what my goal is. How am I ever going to get there? It's ridiculous. And so these devotees who suggest that we shouldn't ever hear about these things, how are they going to make progress? And we see that. It doesn't mean that we think we're more advanced than somebody. It's quite a bit more subtle than that. What is advancement and what is not? It has to do mostly with mercy we've gotten from Sadhu Guru. But at the same time, we should have some conception. So this verse today, Narottam Das Thakur is speaking about the types of Sakhis of Radhika. So I want to begin, we're going to mostly look today at the Jnana Chandra Goswami's Padati, which was written in Jagannath Puri, which is a great book and has a lot of useful information for us today. We want to speak something briefly about Radharani and the connection of Srimati Radharani with these different Sakhis. What is the position of Radharani? Why do we care so much about her? Well, that's something I hope that we all have a good conception of. But still, we'll just touch on that. And then we'll go to expand on that with the gopis. So let's dive into Jnana Chandra Goswami's Padati. And I'm thinking to do a lot of reading today again, because I'm not going to try to pretend to have a lot of realizations about the Sakhis and this and that, but we should know some information about this. And I'll try to make a few comments when I can. We'll see. Just see how it goes. One of my favorite verses. Vena Radha Prasadena Krishna Praptina Jayate Tatashi Radhika Krishno Smarani Yo Su Samyuto. Vena Radha Prasadena, without Radharani's mercy, Krishna Praptina Jayate. You cannot get Krishna. Tatashi Radhika Krishno Smarani Yo Su Samyuto. And therefore we should always smarana, we should always think of Radha and Krishna together. And sometimes we comment on this verse as speaking also about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that we see how Srimati Radharani and Krishna are in a combined form, and try to understand something about that. And then he quotes a Bhavishyottara Purana, Prema Bhakto Yadi Shraddha Mat Prasadam Yadichasi Tada Narada Bhavena Radha Ya Radhaka Bhava. If you have faith in Prem Bhakti, this is Krishna speaking to Narada Muni. If you desire my mercy, then, O Narada, please become the worshipper of Radha with affection. That's pretty clear, isn't it? The bona fide Leela. Okay, he smiles, yes. And then another wonderful verse I like very much from the Naradiya Purana. This word satyam means the truth. And count how many times this word is used. Satyam, satyam, punah, satyam, satyam eva punah punaha, vina radha prasadina mat prasadana vidyate. This is the truth, truth, punah satyam, satyam. This is the truth, this is the truth, this is the truth, this is the truth. Again and again, eva punah punaha, I tell you this thing. Vina radha prasadina mat prasadana vidyate. Krishna speaking this thing in Naradiya Purana. Without the mercy of Radharani, you can't get my mercy. So this is a position of Srimati Radharani. If we want to approach Krishna, if we want to do Krishna bhajan. Now, this is a complicated subject, which I think most of you or all of you have heard from me, but just to lightly touch on it, just in case. There's one Prabhupada disciple friend of mine just wrote to me that he was listening to one of our talks about some of these things, and he said, wow, I never thought about why we chant Hare Krishna. Because he was quoting it, because we want to please Radharani. And therefore we don't chant Radhe Radhe, we chant Krishna Krishna, because Radharani gets pleasure when we chant Krishna Krishna. And our bhajan is meant for her pleasure. So then Jnana Chandra Goswami gives this verse. Shri Radhikaya karuna tat saki sangatim yat tat sakinam cha kripaya yoshad angam avapnuyat. From the mercy of Radha comes association with her Sakhis. By the mercy of her Sakhis, one attains the body of a gopi. This is a really good verse. And it comes right in sequence. So he's Krishna saying that the Jan Chandra Goswami is saying that without Radharani's mercy, you can't get Krishna. And therefore, we have to remember Radha Krishna together. If you have faith in Prem Bhakti and you mat prasadam yadichyasi, you want the mercy of Krishna, then you have to become a worshiper of Radharani. So, in other words, Prema Bhakti is dependent on mercy. That's what's subtly being described there. And therefore, if you want Prema Bhakti, you have to become a worshiper of Radha. And this is the truth again and again and again. He says, without the mercy of Radha, you can't get my mercy. And then, what happens if you get Radharani's mercy? From the mercy of Radharani, then you get association with her Sakhis. By the mercy of her Sakhis, one attains a body of a gopi, by which we can render a particular type of service, which our acharyas have been championing. I remember, again, the Radhastami talk that Shiva Raj gave this last year in New Vraja Gopis. Amazing talk. We were all sitting expecting, at least myself, Maharaj is going to speak about Radha Rasa Sudha Nidhi, he's going to speak about some pastimes of Radharani or this or that. And it was just all philosophy. And what he spoke about was that by the mercy of Krishna, we get Radharani. And then by the mercy of Radharani, we understand Krishna. But without approaching Krishna first, we can't understand or appreciate Radharani. So that's pretty much what Jan Chandra Goswami is saying. And then when he goes on, then by the mercy of Radha, you get association. Sakhi sangatim yat. You get the mercy, you get the association of the Sakhis. And then by the Sakhi's mercy, tat sakhinam chakripaya, yoshid angam avapnuyat. You get the body of a yoshid, of a lady. Some of our friends in San Francisco like that a lot. So then there's the 8 Sakhis which are described. And this is what Narottam is speaking about today. So we're mostly just reading and making a few little comments. If anybody has any thoughts or anything, go ahead and raise your hand. But I'm just going to keep reading. He speaks about the Kunj first. He presents the different Sakhis, and he does it in a sequential way. One thing that I cut out from all this discussion, and somebody's really eager for it, I can share it with you, but I just don't feel comfortable in a public discussion, and that is the gopis' mantras. He has a mantra for each one of the different Sakhis in that, which I'm not real comfortable with. That mantras are something we get from Guru, and that's not, for me, something that you speak about in a lecture. But he begins by speaking about the Kunj, then their age, their bodily color, who's their husband, who they are in Gaura Lila, and then he gives a meditation, and then explains something about, their inner mood. And a lot of that I also cut out just for time's sake. And then he gives a general meditation on this particular gopi. So that's our format, and that's what we're starting with. First of all, is the place. And I think that's also significant, perhaps, for us, that he's indicating that we do Dhambas. We stay in the Dham and we worship the personalities there. And we understand that each one of these places has a connection with a particular person. So Lalita's Kunj is a Nanga Sukhada Kunj, which is a place of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. She lives there at all times. Mayura Pincha Sadhya Basana Krishna Vallabha. And she has Mayura Pincha Sadhya. She has a dress that resembles peacock feathers. She's Krishna Vallabha, very dear to Krishna. She's always attracted to Krishna. And she has the mood of a woman, a Kandita Bhava, who's been devastated in love. I'm just mostly going to read the English. She's absorbed in serving camphor and betel nut. She's decorated with attractive ornaments. Her age is 14 years, 8 months, and 27 days. The intelligence say that her father is Vishokaka, or Vishok, sometimes called Vishok. I probably named one of his disciples Vishok Prabhu. He's an old friend of mine. He passed away a few years ago. Her mother is Sarada. He probably also had a disciple, a lady named Sarada. Her husband is Bhairava. That's probably not a good name for it. Bhairava is a ferocious form of Lord Shiva, and it's a little bit of a poking fun. at him because he's always trying to keep his wife away from Krishna. So then in Lalita, in Gauranga Mahaprabhu's pastimes, becomes Swarup Damodar Goswami. I don't know where we were discussing about Swarup Damodar. Maybe it was in our Gambhira, right, our Gambhira Katha. And we mentioned some controversy how in Gaura Ganadash Dipika, what Fakir Mumbu said was a recent interpolation. It says that Lalita became Ramananda Roy, but most elsewhere in Prabhupada himself, it says Swarup Damodar Goswami. So she is a Bhama Prakara in nature and lives in Javat. And he explains what that Bhama Prakara is down below. These gopis are all living in Javat, close to Srimati Radharani, because that's where their service is at. And they're helping Radharani in so many different ways. It's such a wonderful thing because they're in Javat. Radharani is distance from Krishna. She's staying in the house of the enemy. There are enemies, and there are such a thing as conspiracy theories. They go on between Jatila, Kutila, and Abhimanyu. There is some conspiracies. They're very real. We don't care about conspiracies in this world, though. And these gopis, they live with Radharani in Javat, and they assist in her pastimes in different ways. So Bhama Prakara Lakshanam. Now he speaks about what is the Lakshana, or the qualities of a Bhama Prakara Gopi. He says that the women of Braj, they have three different natures: Adhika, Sama, or Lagu. Adhika means they're great. Sama means equal, and Lagu means smaller, lesser. And it's according to the amount of respect that Krishna gives them due to their prema, their qualities and forms. And as we spoke before, their prema, their qualities and form, in one sense, are not different. Their form, their qualities are manifestations of their prema. So then again, there's other different distinctions. And sometimes devotees really want to get into these things and memorize all these things. I think it's okay. I think we should know about it. And there's no harm, surely, in learning our Gaudiya philosophy. But I think it's far more important for most of us just to be able to control our senses and to have some understanding of our philosophy. I don't consider these things the most important things to memorize or work with. Anyway, each of these types is prakara, madhya, and mridvi. Mridvi means someone who's very gentle. Madhya is a medium person. The prakara is someone who speaks very strongly. And Bhama means left wing. So Lalita is a Bhama prakara. She's someone who speaks very, very heavily. And then there's Lagu prakara. Because again, there's Adhika, Sama, or Lagu. And he speaks about the Lagu Prakara, those who are Bhama, obstinate, and Dakshina, compliant. And then he speaks about what is the Bhama. The Bhama, Mana Grahe. Grahe means to hold or grab a hold of. They're always holding on to this man. And when that pride slackens down, then it becomes anger. She can't be controlled by the hero and is generally harsh towards him. And Radhika and Lalita is very famous as a Bhama Prakara Lagu. So each one of these different gopis represents a different Shakti, a different energy of Srimati Radharani, by which enhances all the different pastimes. And it's only by chanting Hare Krishna and pleasing Radhika that we can understand something about the Sakhis. The Sakhis are very, very confidential. And then by getting the mercy of the Sakhis, we can get the body of a gopi ourselves, just like Lord Shiva. He once came and he wanted to enter into the Ras Leela, but he wasn't able to. And there's different stories told in different ways. Some say it was Brinda Devi, some say it was Lalita. But one of them took him to Mansarovar. Sometimes they say the Jamuna. And he gave him a bath, and he came out in the form of Gopishwar Mahadev, in the form of a lady. So that's by the mercy of the gopis. And then he gives a list of different gopis that are in the group of Lalita. Ratnaprabha, Ratika, Subhadra, Ratika, Sumukhi, Dhanishta, Kalahansi, and Kalapini. 8 different gopis again. Then he gives the Dhyan mantra. This is a meditation on Lalita. I remember the dear Sakhi of Radhika, Lalita, whose complexion rivals the color of Gorochana. Gorochana, Krishna. I posted something about that not so long ago on Facebook. Gorochana is a color of yellow, which it seems there's different understandings about it, but it comes from a cow. Some accounts say that they feed those cows sunflowers, some yellow kind of color flowers, and then the urine is taken and it has a very deep yellow color to it. And they use that along with a few other things to make this color. Others say that it's another part from the cow. In any case, 100% for sure it comes from the cow. And it's a very golden yellow color, and maybe a little bit like this highlight I've got here. So that's the color of Lalita. She's nicely dressed. Her cloth resembles peacock feathers. She wears shining ornaments, and she's engaged in serving betel nut to the son of Nanda Maharaj. And then it describes about Vishaka, again starting off with her place. On the northeast petal of this lotus is a bower called the Nanda with the color of a cloud. Vishaka, dear to Krishna, stays there. Our acharyas have described that around Radha Kund there's all these different kunds and places of the different sakhis. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, very interestingly, he spoke that way about Jagannath Puri also. He said that Jagannath is Madan Mohan. Madan Mohan is the Vijay Vigraha, or festival deity. And then he said there's Govardhan Hill. And on the other side of Govardhan Hill, you've got Gopinath. And in between is Govinda. He established the deities there, who he apparently said are non-different from Govinda. And he said all around there, the gopis have their different kunjas. So she's a Swadhina Bhatrika. We'll hear something about that below. In her relationship with Krishna. She's serving Krishna and Radharani by arranging clothing and ornaments. And again, she's golden in complexion, just like Srimati Radharani. Pakshahar Yuga Yugma Masa Samyukta Manuhayana. She's 14 years, 2 months, and 14 days old, eternally. Her father's name is Pavana. Her mother's name is Dakshina. And Patu Yasha Bahukakyo. Her husband's name is Bahuka. And in Gauranga's pastimes in Kali Yuga, Vishaka's famous is Ramananda Roy. Iyan Tvadika Madhyahi Griham Ashastu Yavate. She's an Adika Madhye. She lives in Javat. And then he describes who is a Swadhini Bhatrika Lakshana. What is the qualities of a Swadhini Bhatrika? Swadhini Bhatrika, Srimati Radharani has that mood sometimes. See, Radharani has the mood of all the different gopis. These gopis are manifestations of her moods. And one of her moods is to be the Swadhina Bhatrika. Swadhina Bhatrika is someone who keeps Krishna under control. And he says he has pastimes in the forest and picks flowers. And then Madhavi Malati Chandareka Kunjari Harini Chapala Surabi and Subhanana. Again, 8 other different gopis are Vishaka's personal sakhis. So now I'd like to, do you want to bring a chair over here? You could sit here near me and you could read something too. We'll take turns reading. Anyway, maybe Jai Gaur could read. Yeah, why don't you grab a chair? That's good. Or stand, whatever. But I think it's easier with a chair. And so he gives the Dhyana mantra for Vishaka then. She's always dressing and ornamenting Krishna. She has a cloth like the stars and a bodily complexion like a champak flower. And again, Radharani, Lalita and Vishaka are the 2 most intimate sakhis of Radharani. And they have their So she has a cloth like the stars, which also reminds Radharani of the gopis, and Lalita has a cloth that's like a peacock feather and reminds Srimati Radharani of Krishna, of course. So we're going to Chitra. You can read that. And you go ahead and read Sanskrit if you want, or English, or whatever you like.
Sanskrit also.
As you like.
Okay. It's Chitram Purva Dalai Kunjam Padma Kinjal Kanamakam Shri Chitra Swamini Tatra Vartate Krishna Vallabha. Chitra, dear to Krishna, resides in an attractive bower called Padma Kinjalka on the eastern petal. Abhisarikatvam apana harorati samanvita Lavanga mala sevadya Kashmira varna samyata. Having attraction for Krishna, she has the nature of an abhisarika. She is engaged in making cloth garlands. Her complexion is saffron. Kachatulyam barajhaso sada chitra gunanvita ashyashchaiva vayo manam manusamkhya dinanvitan rishi masadhikam shakra hayanam cheti vishrutam. Her dress is the color of crystal. She is always endowed with astonishing qualities. Her age is 14 years, 7 months, and 14 days. Chaturosya pita prokto jananyasyascharchika patih pita rakashchasya asau gora rase punaha. Her father is Chatura and her mother is Charchika. Her husband is Pitaraka. Govindanandatam prapta chaturtha yuga madhyake iyam tvadika mridvi chagriham asyastuyavate. In Gauranga's pastimes in the 4th yuga, Kali, she is Govindananda. She is an Adhika Mridvi and lives in Yavat.
And this is the Abhisarika, this is what she does.
Visarika Lakshanam Yatha. Yabhisara yate kantam swayam vabhisaratyapi sajyotsni tamasi yana yogya vesha bhisarika ajaya svanga lineva nishabda kilamandana kritva krita vagushta snigdhaika saki yukta priyam vrajet. Going for an appointment, abhisarika. The woman who goes to meet her lover or is met by her lover wearing clothing suitable for the full moon or dark moon is called the abhisarika. Out of shyness, she covers her body, makes her ornaments soundless, and goes in a company of only one intimate friend to meet her lover.
And these are a list of her Shaktis.
Yeah. So Rasalika, Tilakini, Shauraseni, Sugandhika, Vamini, Kamanagari, Nagari, and Nagavenika are Chitra Sakis.
These are her 8 Shaktis. And then this is a meditation of her.
Asya dhyanam yata tatraiva Kashmira varnam sahitam vichitra gunai smita shubhi mukhin chachitram kacham baram Krishna puro lavanga mala pradane nitaram smarami. I meditate constantly on Chitra, whose complexion is saffron, who has astonishing qualities and glorious smile, who wears cloth the color of crystal, and who gives cloth garlands to Krishna.
Siddhari Prabhu, are you still there? Looks like he went somewhere.
Yes,
Siddhari
Prabhu, I'm
Prabhu,
here. Yes,
Would
yes,
you-
I'm here.
why don't you read into
Yes.
Leka? Just don't put on a sorry
Sure.
anything, but read about into Leka.
I won't swoon. I won't swoon and fall unconscious here while reading this.
Okay,
But in
hold on a
Sanskrit,
second.
no.
Go ahead. English, if
Indulekha.
you,
Yeah, English only. Indulekha of yellow complexion lives on the southeastern petal in Purnendu bower, golden in color. Her cloth is the color of a pomegranate flower, crimson. Dear to Krishna and attached to him, she has the mood of a prosita bhatrika.
We'll hear about that in a
She's
minute.
she's engaged in serving sweet drinks or water to Krishna. Her age, according to all scriptures, is 14 years, 2 months, and 10.5 days. She is Vama Prakhara. She is Vama Prakhara, serving Krishna with a chamara. Her house is in Yavat. Her father is Sagara. Her mother is Vela. Her husband is Durbal. In Gauranga's pastimes, she is Vasu Ramananda. Qualities of the lover in distant separation.
So that's the name of that's the meaning of a prosita bhatrika. That's what she is. This is a prosita bhatrika lakshana, the qualities. Go ahead.
When the lover goes to a distant place, the woman is called Proshita Bhatrika. She glorifies her lover, feels miserable, becomes thin, stays awake, fades in complexion, becomes unsettled, becomes stunned, and becomes absorbed in contemplation. Ujjwal Ninalmani, chapter 5, text number 89.
So in the same way,
Can I
she also has 8 different primary Sakis. You can go ahead and read their names.
Can I ask a question here, too, or should I wait for the...
Oh, go ahead.
So, these qualities which we just read for Proshita Bhatrika, I mean, I'm not so well trained in the Rasa Shastra, but it seems like all the gopis should have the same qualities of, feeling miserable when the lover goes away, glorifying the lover, staying awake, fading in complexion. What is special here that is being, being specified
In the same
here
way,
with
the
this?
Swadhina Bhatrika is also
Yeah.
some of the gopis, and so many of the gopis also are Bhama Prakar. They're left-wing gopis. But of all the left-wing gopis, Lalita is really the Bhama Prakar. And of all the gopis, they're all Prosita Bhatrika. They're all feeling separation from Krishna. But in particular, in Indulekha, she's the embodiment of that. It's interesting also in the same book, which is the 𝗍𝗿𝗺 Smarana Archana Paddhati by Jan Chandra Goswami, famous book which Bhakti Vinod mentions. It mentions there that the Ashtasakis, that Krishna has 16 different energies. And it's mentioned in some shastras that when Krishna has 16 energies, that he's in Braj. When he has 15, that's Mathura. When he has 14, that's Dwarka. So Dwarka Lila is Purna, Mathura Lila is Purnatara, and Braj Lila is Purnatama. And those 16 different Shaktis are represented by the 16 gopis, the Ashtasakis and the Ashtamanjaris. And there's 16 different Shaktis, by the way, in Jagannath Puri, according to Rig Veda. So they represent different particular energies of the Lord. This is my understanding. So when we say Prosita Bhatrika, they may all have that energy. They may all be, some of them more than one, maybe Bhamya Prakar, but Lalita really represents Bhamya Prakar, and Indulekha really represents Prosita Bhatrika. Is that okay?
Okay, that's okay. I want to ask a follow-up question. So is there a pastime where we get to see Indulekha exhibiting this specific characteristic of Proshita? I guess in case of Lalita, we know some few pastimes, but in case of Indulekha, are you...
Okay, let's look it up here real quick. I can do it real fast, I think. Maybe not so fast, but pretty fast.
Are you going to ask Chat GPT?
That verse, by the way, is from Ujjwal Nilamani.
Okay. I'm saying, are you going to ask Chat GPT to tell us the pastime of Indulekha?
Am I able to do what?
Are you going to ask Chat GPT? You know, the AI chat is called Chat GPT, the AI agent.
Okay, no, I'm not looking at him. This is from 𝗍𝗶𝗰𝗸𝗁. This is an example of the 𝗍𝗶𝗺 Bhattrika. Krishna is living happily in Mathura with great enjoyment. This is a gopi speaking. But for me, springtime brings pain at every step and from every direction. Let's see here. My enemy, the impossible hope that he may perhaps return, has become a great obstacle in fulfilling my desire to kill myself. Where can I find shelter from this enemy? Maybe I should have kept some of these in. I didn't want to have it too much. That's the example.
That shows the inner state of that mood.
Yeah. Okay. Is that helpful, Prabhuji?
Thank you, Babu. Thank you very much. Something.
Okay.
Sometimes what comes,
Go ahead.
there are like purports in Sarata Darshini by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, especially to Rasa Panchadhyaya, where he identifies different gopis according to what's the content, emotional content of the verse of the words of the verse. Then he gives a clue to see who's speaking that particular verse according to the moods.
Why don't you go ahead and finish with Indulekha? This is a
Tungabhadra Rasotunga Rangavati Surangi Chitralekha Vichitra Rangi Modini and Madana Lasa are the Sakhis of Indulekha. Meditation on Indulekha is as follows. I worship the Sakhi Indulekha, whose complexion is yellow, whose cloth is the color of a blossoming pomegranate flower crimson, who offers nectar or water to Krishna's mouth.
So what he's done in this book, he's giving some book of meditation. And again, reading from Jaiva Dharma, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says this is the 𝗣𝗿𝗺𝗺, or the external path. And how is it external? Because we're not just the internal path, which is given to Raghunath Das Goswami, means we just chant the holy name and Name Prasvatito Hai Rupa Guna Karma, everything comes up. But it's not that in the Antarangapata, the internal path, that the devotees don't read 𝗍𝗶𝗰𝗸𝗁, which this largely is. They don't understand those things. They do. But the difference is in Dhyan Chandra Goswami's book, it's meant as a padati that somebody sits down and meditates like this. And so they think about where she stays, what is her nature, what is her color, what is her dress, who is her husband, who is her parents, what kind of service does she do. And then there's some mantras given for her, which I went ahead and cut out because that's really not our line. We should accept mantra from our guru. And if someone's guru wants to give them a mantra for Indulekha or whatever, that's glorious, but that's not part of our katha. Hare Krishna. And then we have some Jnana mantra, some meditation in Indulekha. And so now I'd like to ask the one and only very famous Gaura Nitai Prabhu if he could read about Champakalata.
Dakshinesmin dale kamalata namasti kunjakam atyanta sukhadam tapta jambunada samaprabham Shri Champakalata tishtati amushmin Krishna Vallabha asau vasaka sajjatvam apanna rati yug gharo. On the southern petal lives Champakalata, dear to Krishna, in the bower named Kamalata, which has a color like molten gold and gives great happiness. Having great attraction to Krishna, she is in the mood of Vasaka Sajja, 𝗍𝗶𝗃𝗊𝗃 𝗏𝐶𝑉-Ratna-Malaya-Dhanam-Chamara-Chalanam. She is a 𝗍𝗲 with the complexion of a champaka flower, golden yellow. She wears cloth the color of a chataka. Her service is offering jewel necklaces and offering chamara. Sadhya Trayodasha Dinamasa Dvaya Samanvita Manu Samkhya Hayanascha Vayomanam Bhavet Puna. Her age is 14 years, 2 months, and 13.5 days.
To give a perverted reflection understanding of this, it's just like if you go to school with some kids who you grew up with, and they're all like a few days age difference in that, and you just always that's such a really tight sangha. And this is what it's like with Srimati Radharani and her gopis. Hare Krishna Tirthakar Prabhu. We're just reading something. Today's verse speaks about the Astasakis. So we're reading something about the Astasakis and just contemplating on him a little bit. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah, finish it.
Matasya Vartika Khyata Pitacharama Samjnaka Asyascha Bharta Chandakyas Tatha Guru Rase Hyasau Shivanandataya Khyatim Agata Hi Kalo Yuge. Her mother is Vatika, her father is Charama, her husband is Chanda. In Gauranga's pastimes in Kali Yuga, she is Shivananda. Vasaka Sajja Lakshanam Yatha Svavasaka Vashat Kante Sameshyati Nijam Vapu Sajji Karoti Geham Chaya Savasaka Sajjika Cheshtasya Smara Samkrida Sankapavartma Vikshanam Sakhi Vinoda Varta Chamuhur Duti Kshanadaya. Characteristics of a woman who decorates her abode and body. The Vasaka Sajja is a woman who decorates her house and her body when her lover is coming, because the lover desires that she stay in her abode. She is determined to enjoy with her lover, looks constantly at the path, gossips with her friends, and constantly looks anxiously for messengers to arrive. Kurangakshi Sucharita Mandali Manimandana Chandika Chandralalika Kandukakshi and Sumandira are Champakalata's Sakhis. Asya Dhyanam Yatha Tatraiva Champakavali Samano Kantikan Chatakabhya Vasannam Subhushanam Ratnamaya Yuta Chamarojyatam Charu Champakalatam Sajje Sada Bhaje. Her meditation is as follows. Go up, please.
Yeah.
I worship beautiful Champakalata, whose complexion is similar to a champaka flower, who wears cloth the color of a chataka bird, who is well ornamented and is engaged in offering jeweled necklaces and waving the chamara.
Hari Bol. And Tirthakar, would you like to read about Rangadevi? Read the Sanskrit or the English. It's up to you. Sometimes we're reading just English.
Rangadevi. We can read Sanskrit also.
Sure.
Rakshodale Shamavarne Kunja Shri Rangadevika Sukhadakhe Nivasati Nityam Sri Hari Vallabha. On the southwestern petal lives Rangadevi, dear to Krishna, in the abode called Sukhada, which is black in color. Padmakingyalkavarnabha Jaba Pushpanidhambara. Utkanthita Bhavayukta Shri Krishna Rati Bhaksada. Her complexion is that of a lotus pollen. Her cloth is color of java flower, red. Having great attraction to Krishna at all times, she is in the mood of the Utkanthita. Asau chandana sevadya vama madhyavavet punaha griham asyayavatetu vayomanam bhavet punaha. She offers sandalwood as her service. She is a Vama Madhya. Her house is in Yavat. Sarhaveda Dinaryuktam Vimasam Manuhayanam Mata Shri Karuna Prokta Pita Shri Ranga Sagaraha. Her age is 14 years, 2 months, and 4.5 days. Her mother is Karuna. Her father is Rangasagar. Patir Vakreshanach Prokto Hyasau Gaura Rase Punaha Govindananda Ghoshakyam Apanahi Kalau Yuge. Her husband is Vakrekshana. In Gauranga pastimes in Kali Yuga, she is Govindananda Ghosh. Utkantita Lakshanam Yatha Anangasi Priyatame Chirayatyutsuka Tuya Virahot Kantita Bhavavedibhik Samirita Ayastu Chishta Hritapo Vipathur Hetu Tarkanam Aratirvashpamokshan Cha Swavastha Katanadayaha. The woman who feels anxiety because of delay. She who becomes anxious when her faultless lover is delayed in coming, who becomes filled with longing in separation, is called Utkantita by those who know about love. Her actions include pain in the heart, trembling, wondering about the cause of his delay, dullness, and tears.
Kanta means the throat. Utkantita means that heart's coming up to the throat. Go ahead.
Kalakanti Shashikala Kamala Madhura Madhavi Kandarpasundari Kamalatika and Prema Manjari are the Sakhis of Rangadevi. Radha Krishna Ganodeshri Pika 1, 2, 4, 8.
Again, every one of them has 8 Sakhis of their own. Go ahead. You can read the Dhyan now.
Is it that those, again, it's like, how to say, when we have Vedic scriptures, and each these Vedic scriptures, they have so many these subcategories, and like these Upanishads and Samhitas and like that. So is it like that the gopis actually are having these different subcategories and more friends? So there is like so many different.
Yeah. And what I would understand is that each one of these, like Kalakanti, Sashikala, Kamala, Madhura, Madhavi, Kandarpasundi, these are all Shaktis of Rangadevi. Rangadevi is a Shakti of Radharani, and these are all Rangadevi's Shaktis. Of course, and then they're all Shaktis of Srimati Radharani, but they all represent different particular potencies. Utkantita is the main mood of Rangadevi. Great. Why don't you go ahead and read the Dhyan?
Asya Dhyanam cha tatraiva Rajiva Kinjalka Samana Varnam Jabapra Sunopama Vasas Adhyam Shri Khanda Seva Sahitam Rajendra Sunor Bajera Saga Rangadevim. Her meditation is as follows. I worship Rangadevi, who is absorbed in the rasa dance, has the complexion of the lotus pollen, wears cloth the color of the java flower, and serves Krishna's sandalwood.
Krishna Kum, would you like to read about Tanga Vidya?
Okay. Kunjosti Paschimedale Gunavarna Susobana Tunga Vidyananandadu Namneti Vikhyatama Gataha On the western petal is a beautiful pink bower named 𝗃𝗃𝗺𝗃𝗃𝗺𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃.
You understand the meaning of that? That
Yeah.
𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗺, Ananda, the one, the bower, the place which gives happiness, Ananda to 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗺. Go ahead.
Nityam tishtati tataiva 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗺 samutsukha vipralabdhatvam apanna Shri Krishna ratiyuk sada. There 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗺 resides at all times with eagerness. Always attached to Krishna, she is in the mood of vipralabdha. What is vipralabdha? Attaining from a distance. It really seems even more.
Yeah. Let's hear how he defines it a little bit later on. Vipralabdha is an interesting word.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Chandra Chandana Bhuyishta Kunkuma Jutishalini Pandumandana Vastreyam Dakshina Prakarudita. Her complexion is that of kumkum mixed with camphor and sandalwood. Her dress is pale yellow. She is a Dakshina Prakara. Medayam Pushkarajata Patirasyastu Balishaha Ritya Gitadi Sevadya Grihamasyastu Yavate. She is born to Meda and Pushkara. Her husband is Balisha. Her service is dancing and singing. Her house is in Yavat. Dvavimshati Dina Yukta Dvimasa Manuhayana. She's 14 years, 2 months, and 22 days old. Asyavaya pramanam syad asogura rase punaha vakreshvara itikyatim apanna hikalo yuge. In Gauranga's pastimes in Kali Yuga, she's Vakreshvara.
Who's the guru? Chandra Goswami.
No, of Gopal Krishna.
Yeah, of Gopal.
Goswami, Gopal Krishna Goswami is Guru.
Yeah. It's Param Guru, I'm sorry.
It's Param Guru, yeah. Vipralabdha lakshanam yatha kritva sanketam aprapte daivaji vitavallabe vyatamanantara prokta vipralabdha manishibi nirveda chinta kedashu mochanishva sitadibhak. Feeling cheated. When the lover cannot keep up an appointment because of unfortunate circumstances, and the woman feels pain within, she is called vipralabdha, cheated by the wise. She shows despondency, contemplation, lamentation, tears, fainting, and heavy breathing. Which one? Nilamani 583-84. Manjumeda, Sumadura, Sumadhya, Madhurekshana, Tanumadhya, Madhusyanda, Gunachuda, and Varangada are 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗺 Sakhis. Radha Krishna és a Dipika 1-247. Then Asyadyanam yatata taiva Chandradyar apichandanai sulalitam shi kunkumaba jyotim sadratnan vitapushanan chitatanum sonam varollasitam sadgita varisamyutam bahugunam dampasya shabdena vai nityantim purato hare rasavatim shri 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗺 bhaje. Her meditation is as follows from Kishori Tantra. I worship lovely 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗺, who is charming with anointments made of sandalwood mixed with camphor, whose complexion is that of kumkum, who is ornamented with fine gems, who shines with red cloth, who sings excellently, who has many fine qualities, and who dances to the sound of the drum in front of Krishna.
Just looking in my dictionaries, by the way, the word vipralabdha has a number of different meanings, which I think are all, here it says vipralabdha means cheated, deceived or cheated, disappointed, hurt, injured, a woman disappointed by her lover's breaking his appointment. It's one of the several classes of a nayika in poetic composition. The word vipralabdha also means insulted or violated. So sometimes some just like in this world, some women, they just feel you abused me, and that's just what they wear all the time. I've been abused. I'm like, and so we see that here. So Tanga Vidya has that kind of mood. So let's go ahead now with Sudevi. Ishwari Prema, are you there? Would you like to read about Sudevi? You have some comments?
It's quite interesting that in Vrindavan, most of devotees live with having Prabodhananda Saraswati as Tunga Vidya, usually.
I saw the
You're right.
brother.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting thing too. That's a whole nother topic I don't know I even want to get into, but how different Vaishnavas see different personalities in different persons. And we spoke some about it before. The example of Ramananda Roy, who's 3 or 4 different personalities in one. And what does that mean? Does that mean they're literal incarnations? Or does that mean, as I would suggest, that they have some Shakti from that particular person? And so maybe sometimes they see someone in them. Okay. Ishwari Prem, would you like to read about Sudevi? Ishwari Prem, are you there? I saw she was coming online a moment ago. Okay.
Yeah, go.
I'll go ahead. Vayavya dalake kunjam ashte haritavarnakam vasanta sukadam matra sudevi vartate sada. On the northwestern petal is the Vasanta Sukha bower, which is green in color, and Sudevi lives there at all times. Kalahantarita bhavam apana ratiyugaro padma kinjalka ruchira jaba pushpa nibarambar. Attracted to Krishna, she has a mood of a Kala Hantarita woman. She has a complexion of lotus pollen and wears cloth the color of the java flower. Asocha jala seva dya bhama prakarika mata veda vasura samyukta dvimasa mano hayana. Her service is offering water. She is a bhama prakara. And the embodiment of bhama prakara again is Lalita, but Sudevi's also has that mood. Her age is 14 years, 2 months, and 4 days. Ashivaya parimanam yavatetu niketanam matasya karuna prokta janako ranga sagara. She lives in Javat. Her mother is Karuna. Her father is Ranga Sagara. Bhatra Vakreshananesham Parinita Kaniyasa Sivasudeva Goshakyam Apta Gora Risetvaso. She's married to the younger brother of Vrikshana, Rangadevi's husband. In Gauranga's past name, she's Vasudev Ghosh. Kalahantarita Lakshanam Yata. So this is the Lakshana of the Kalahantarita heroine. Sasakinam Parapada Patitam Valabam Rusha Nirasha Paschatapati Kalahantarita Hisa Asha Pralapa Santapa Glani Nisvasitadaya. The qualities of a woman who creates deliberate separation. The woman who rejects her lover in front of her friends and then suffers regret is called the Kalahantarita. She talks idly, feels pain and exhaustion, and breathes heavily. It's a kind of madness. Where sometimes Srimati Radharani, or here we're hearing about Sudevi, who has the same kind of mood, the Bhama Prakar, as Lalita. She becomes very, very angry, and she rejects Krishna in front of her friends, and then she feels bad about it later on. So then she also has 8 different friends: Kaveri, Charukavara, Sukeshi, Manjakeshika, Harahira, Haravali, Harakanti, and Manohara, the Sakis of Sudevi. And then it gives a dhyana mantra. Asadhyana yatata traiva. Ambojakeshara samana ruchim susilam raktam badam ruchira hasa virajivaktram. Shinandanana Purojala Sevanadyam Sadbhushan Avali Yutam Chabaje Sudevim. It's not quite the right mantra, it's more like Amboja Kesara Samana Ruchim Susilam. That's a proper one. Her meditation is this: I worship Sudevi, attired in fine ornaments, whose complexion is that of lotus filaments, who has gentle qualities, who wears red cloth, whose face has an attractive smile, and who offers water to Krishna. So that's the Astasakis. And he indicates the Astamanjaris. We're not going to go there today, but I would like to speak a little something more about the gopis. There's a really interesting discussion in Ujjwal Nilamani in the 9th chapter from Rupa Goswami. Let's go ahead and read that and look at Jiva Goswami's commentary, because we may be wondering, what is this Brahma Prakar? Someone is a left-wing person, someone is angry with Krishna, and sometimes we hear that some of their husbands and personalities are not favorable. I'm going to go ahead and plug my microphone back in. How do we understand this? So, very interesting discussion. Kshipanito vichati abhavayo esha pakshayo ishradin swa parivaran yoge swa preshtattushtaye ataeva hi vishleshe snehastasam prakasate. When Krishna is present, Sringara Ras creates hatred and jealousy between the two camps of rival gopis in order to please Krishna. And that's very interesting. Then it says that when Krishna is absent in separation, it produces affection amongst them. Very, very beautiful thing. So Jiva Goswami and Rupa Goswami, another place, he says somebody who may think that everything is just sweet and loving, and there's no disagreements in the spiritual world. And he says they don't understand Vrindavan. So Jiva Goswami has his Durgama Sangamani Tika. Durgama means difficult, Sangamani means to reconcile. So it's his commentary wherein he reconciles seeming discrepancies. Ordinary Sringara Rasa is accepted in scriptures as most brilliant because of the relationships of the man and woman. How much more brilliant is the Sringara Rasa of Krishna's pastimes? Krishna is more enchanting than a multitude of cupids. This shows the extreme greed of all the gopis for enjoyment with Krishna. He bewilders even Cupid, Sakshad Manmataha. Though the great Cupid and the associates of Sringara exist in Braj, enjoyment with the women cannot take place simultaneously. Unlike the services of other devotees, Ratak and Patra can dress Krishna while Mother Yashoda is cooking, or even maybe she's putting sweets in his mouth or something, and then they can dress him at the same time. And Madhu Mangal's over there making faces and making Krishna laugh and whatever. They're all interacting with Krishna, but and they can do it simultaneously. But the gopis of Braj, that doesn't work that way. Therefore, there is hatred between the women. This is Braj. There is hatred between the women. However, Krishna, the killer of Agga, is the shelter of all beings and possesses the highest power, since he can give liberation. Just as one should take a devata body to act among the devatas, one should take a human body to act among the humans. The Sringara Ras takes the role of Priyanarma Sakha in Braj, taking into consideration the dearest of Sakhis. Priyanarma Sakha here, my understanding is that it refers to, just the word Sakha means friendship in general. It's not, although usually we speak about the Priyanarma Sakhas as male, I think here, unless it's a typo, it's referring to just the quality of friendship, which is neutral, gender neutral. Existing there, he instigates his associates' hatred, jealousy, and other traits. But if he does not make distinctions, then how can friendship between Sakhis take place at all? It's such a beautiful thing. If there's no distinctions, then how can friendship between Sakhis take place? If there's no distinction, Chaitanya Prabhu once commented something to the effect that some of my Gabras are complaining about somebody who was against our Guru Maharaj and causing trouble to him. And he said something like that unless these persons are there, how will there be any rasa? How will there be enjoyment? It's the same point here, that if there's no distinctions, how can there be friendship? There has to be some distinctions. There has to be something confidential. Guhyam akyati prichiti, Rupa Goswami says. It takes place mutually between parties with different types of love. Just as ordinary people with different qualities form opposing parties, so the groups of gopis with different types of love for Krishna form opposing parties. Because they mutually have no appreciation, it is possible for hatred to take place between them. Some of the young couples appreciate each other, but not other couples. That's a real common thing. I see that often when a couple gets married, one of the first things they start doing, they start talking. It's like an unspoken thing almost. It's like, who is our enemy? Who is our friends? Because now we have this bodily conception thing. We have to decide who is in our group, who's not in our group. And that's sex life. But I see the same thing also amongst brahmacharis sometimes too. That which group is good, which devotees are good, which, the Gaudiya Math is definitely bad. Babajis don't even say that word. That's very, very bad. And even in ISKCON, who you initiated by, et cetera, et cetera. Similarity and differences in the type of love is shown. One should not say that Krishna would not tolerate this. This is done for the satisfaction of Krishna. Enmity between groups nourishes Krishna's attraction for them. When his attraction is nourished, he is satisfied. Vyabhichari bhavs, the opposing elements, nourish the sthayi bhav. Subordinate bhavs, there's sometimes opposing elements, nourish the sthayi bhav, the main fixed mood. Hatred and other emotions appear externally in the gopis, but not internally. It's just external. It's not internal. In us, it's usually the other way around. And sometimes we act like we're very nice, we smile, but internally we're feeling some hatred or something. Just as the senses live for themselves, this enmity takes place when Krishna is present, but not when he's away from Braj. The senses in waking state compete for their own enjoyment and desire their own selfish satisfaction. In deep sleep, indifferent to their own endeavors, they all merge together and simply follow the Atman. They do not compete in that state. Thus it is explained that hatred takes place when Krishna is present. But when he's absent, when Krishna is present, when he's present, they don't experience his absence simultaneously. When he leaves Braj, however, they all experience separation at the same time. When Krishna is present, they don't experience his absence simultaneously. Some of them experience that, some of them don't. But when he leaves Braj, they all feel separation from Krishna. So these are some of the wonderful qualities of the nature of the gopis.
So it comes to my mind that this is very nicely seen again in gopis. Probably they see that they can. That it's just reminded me that it's also very nicely seen in the Gopi Geet, and then the separation of the gopis during the rasa dance. So that's exactly the phenomena that are described on the plate of that lila.
So the nature of the gopis is they nourish the rasa and they expand the rasa of Radha and Krishna. There's so many things we can say. This is a really nice verse. Let's go ahead and do this one. This is a verse some of my friends in the Gaudiya Math pointed out to me, and I never found where it's from, but they say it's from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and it's commonly sung in Gaudiya Math temples. Devi Lakshmi Shuti Gana Dadane Lotayawe Gopi Jana Dikara Rawata Gawe. Parvati Lakshmi in the personified Vedas cry in great happiness while rolling on the ground and singing of the fortunate position of the damsels of Braj Bhumi. So important are the gopis. And as Srila Prabhupada was saying, and we should point this out to Hari Chandra Prabhu, who's just coming in. Prabhupada said, don't boycott the gopis. He said it from Back to Godhead magazine. He said, how can we not talk about the gopis? How can we ignore the gopis? He said, but there should be some qualification. And the qualification wasn't so complicated. The qualification is simply that someone has some faith in their guru, and they've been hearing. Srila Prabhupada gave us all Krishna book, even non-devotees, for them to hear something about it. If they have faith in Prabhupada, then they'll get some benefit. So I'd like to finish up by reading a few verses from Madhya Lila chapter 8 that speak about the necessity of Gopi Bhav, which is what Narottam Das Thakur is saying here. He's giving this verse. Let's look at it again. This is verse 2 and 3 of the 5th song. He's speaking about the Radhikara Sakhi Jata, the different Sakhis of Radharani. And he speaks about who the Mukhya Sakhis, who are the most important ones. And then he gives a list of the Asa Sakhis. And each of these different Asa Sakhis, they're very, very important. They're manifestations of Srimati Radharani. They're the most beloved companions of Radhika, and they're most intimately associated with Radha and Krishna. And then we read some things from the Gaura Govinda Smarana Archana Paddhati, which describes that if someone wants the mercy of Krishna, they have to worship Radharani. And if you worship Radharani, you get the mercy of Krishna, and by the mercy of Krishna, you get you get the mercy of Radharani. If you get the mercy of Radharani, then you get to meet the Asa Sakhis or some of the gopis, and then by their mercy, you get a gopi body. Now, what's so important about that? In Gaura Lila, let's read a little something here. Kaviraj Goswami considers this very important. This is Madhya Lila chapter 8. Radha Krishna Lila e ati guratara dasha vatsal yadi bhave nahoya gochara. He says that these pastimes of Radha and Krishna are ati gudatara. They're very, very confidential. Dasha vatsal yadi bhavi nahoya gochara. They cannot be understood by persons who are in dasha bhav and vatsalya bhav and sakya bhav. They can't be understood. Only someone Sabi eka saki ganyar ihan adhikar. Only the gopis have the qualification, the adhikar, to appreciate these pastimes. Saki hoite hoya e lilara bishtar. And from them, this word bishtar is also important. The gopis, they expand the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And a little tiny bits in each of the different rasas, but they can't really understand the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Now, this is a very interesting point here, too, that what to speak in this material world when we don't know who we are or what we're doing. We're confused and harassed constantly by material desires. We have some differences of opinion and things. Even in the spiritual world, different personalities are not able to understand the mood of the gopis. Very interesting thing. So then he goes on the next verse. Saki bina e lila pusha nahi hoya Saki lila bishariya Saki ashvadoya. So Saki bina e lila pusha nahi hoya. Without the gopis, the pastimes cannot be nourished. Saki lila bishariya. Again, this word bishariya is used in the last sentence, last verse, bishtar, bishariya. They expand the pastimes. And Saki Ashvadoy, it's the gopis who are able to taste that mellow between Radha and Krishna. Saki vina e lilaya anyara nahi gati Saki bhave jetanre kore anugati Radha Krishna kunja seva sadhya se paya se sadhya Paite ar nahika upaya. Nahika upaya. There's no other way to get it without the help of the gopis. And this is another aspect. Up above, he's speaking about how the pastimes of the gopis, they nourish the pastimes, they increase the pastimes. And without the mercy of the gopis, Saki bina e lila pushana, you can't relish them. And so here he's expanding more upon that. Without the mercy of the gopis, you can't enter into those pastimes. And Kaviraj Goswami says that one who worships the Lord in the ecstasy of the gopis following in their footsteps, they can engage in the service of Radha and Krishna in the bushes of Vrindavan, in the kunjas of Vrindavan. Hard word to translate, kunja. Only then can one understand the conjugal love between Radha and Krishna. There's no other procedure for understanding it. And then he gives a verse from the 𝗣𝗍𝗺 Nilamani, as I recall, Govinda Lilamrita. I'm just going to read the English here. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna are self-effulgent. They are happiness personified, unlimited, and all-powerful. Even so, the spiritual humors of such pastimes are never complete without the gopis, the Lord's personal friends. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is never complete without his spiritual potencies. Therefore, unless one takes shelter of the gopis, one cannot enter into the company of Radha and Krishna. Who can be interested in their spiritual pastimes without taking their shelter? So again, Srila Prabhupada, in the beginning of our discussion, he was saying that we should not boycott the gopis, but we should approach them in a proper way. We should have some understanding of them. And Srila Prabhupada, from the very first days that he was speaking to these homosexual, drunkard, drug addict, crazy people in the Bowery, in the Lower East Side of New York, Prabhupada was speaking something about the gopis. So we should understand something about them. This is our purpose, but we should be careful and approach them with great reverence and faith, and we should understand something about them. So let's bring up this quote again from Srila Prabhupada and just go over that. And I think we can finish. Let's see. Here it is. Great quote. The policy should be, this is our policy, and this is Prabhupada's policy with the back-to-guided staff. This is a conversation Prabhupada had with them, establishing the standards for making his preaching magazine, Back to Godhead. This is not even for standards for the devotees. This is a standard for preaching. The policy should be that the people may not understand the gopis like ordinary girls or like that. You should be careful to present the gopis. But it doesn't mean that we shall not utter even the name of gopis. We have taken a vow to boycott the gopis. No, they are our worshipable deities. How can we avoid them? So we can't avoid them. They're worshipable deities, devotees, and we should understand the position of them. And that's why we're going through this Prem Bhakti Chandrika. It's way, way above our head. But we should know such things exist, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says, and I'd like to quote. And we'll go ahead and stop there. And I can put the verse up again, maybe on the board here. We can just read it one last time. So he begins this fifth song speaking about Raganuga Bhakti. And then he begins to speak about the form and the beauty of Radha and Krishna, and how that they're only appreciated through Raganuga Bhakti. And then he gives us a deeper truth, how to get that Raganuga Bhakti, what that Raganuga Bhakti means. It means taking shelter of the gopis and sakis. Shri Radhikara, Saki Jatta Taha Ba Kahive Kata, Mukya Saki Kori Ye Ganan. Lalita Vishaka Tata Suchitra Champakalata, Janga Devi Sudevi Katana. Tunga Bija Indureka E Astra Saki Leka Ebe Kahe Narma Saki Gan. Ihon Seva Sahachari Priya Preshra Nama Dari Prema Seva Kori Anukshan. The different types of Sakis of Sri Radhika are countless. Therefore, I will only describe the principal ones: Lalita, Vishaka, Suchitra, Champakalata, Rangadevi, Sudevi, Tungavija, Indureka are the 8 principal Sakis. They are the most beloved companions of Sri Radhika and are constantly serving their lordships with profound love. They are most intimately associated with Radha and Krishna. So I guess what I'm walking away with today from this discussion, and it's something we just kind of experience as we're going along, what I'm walking away with is that this is important stuff. And I should hear this, I should know something about this, but we've been warned countless times by Srila Prabhupada and by acharyas, by senior devotees in our line, that we shouldn't approach this in the wrong way. But we should know such a thing exists. It's a very, very important thing. Otherwise, what is my goal? I won't be able to understand. And I may become confused. So I'm going to stop there. Anybody have any reflections, comments, questions, corrections? Go ahead. I'm take a second. Anybody?
Can I ask you something?
Yes, go ahead, Krishna Kun.
You spoke just a little bit, you touched on the external and internal path and how Dhyanachandra Goswami, he gave this padati, which we understand as the external path as opposed to what Raghunath Goswami gave to us.
Right.
You said something about how the followers of that external path, they meditate on the gopis' appearance and kunjas and whatever details are given in these descriptions, as I understand. And so when we read this, I mean, it sounds really nectarian, but when we read this, isn't it natural it will come up later on during our chanting, at least? I mean,
Yeah.
not that.
So perhaps your question is, what is the difference between the internal and the external path? Because in both paths, we hear, when we read about in the Prema Vilas about Rasikananda Prabhu, how every day he was gathered together with a group of devotees and they were doing kirtan for 4 hours, chanting japa for like 6 hours, and and they were reading every day from the 10th canto and from Ujjwal Nilamani and Govinda Lilamrita and all these different books every day. So that's our Gaudiya program. We don't all have time for that, maybe, but we're doing different services and we don't have adhikar for such thick, deep hearing and chanting, perhaps, unfortunately. But that's our program. So in one sense, what's the difference? Even in this 𝗣𝗿𝗺 Govinda Smarna Archana Padati, he's quoting heavily from Ujjwal Nilamani. And we would consider Ujjwal Nilamani more on the internal path and this book on the external path. Well, they're both talking about the same thing. What's the difference? It's a subtle difference. And it's an important difference for us to note that in this 𝗣𝗺 Govinda Smarna Archana Padati, Dhyanachandra Goswami is speaking about who the gopis are. And we took advantage of his beautiful descriptions, which are standard, and hearing about them. And he's quoting from Ujjwal Nilamani so much. But he also gives what is the mantra, and he gives different meditation. This is the husband. He gives 11 different items to meditate upon. What is the dress? Who is their husband? Where do they live? How are they born? Who are their parents? What is their service? And gives some meditation. He gives a mantra for them. So this is a process. And someone keeps, it's a padati. Padati means a book that you keep in your pocket or you keep nearby and you look at it for the mantras and the procedures, how to follow. So this is a guide like that. And therefore, Bhaktivinoda says it's external, because you're reading from it and it's an outline how to meditate. And it's very attractive. And some devotees think, oh, we should be doing like this. But at the same time, Bhaktivinoda says that Raghunath Das Goswami got a separate path, which is the internal path. And that internal path with Raghunath Das Goswami and Rupa Goswami, Rupa Raghunath, includes reading from Ujjwal Nilamani, but not reading it like a padati, not taking it as a practice, but just something that I know about, and I'm going in that direction. And it's a guideline for me in a general way, so that I don't get off the road, so I don't start worshiping one of the wrong gopis, like Chandravali or Bhadra or something. Bhadra's not as bad as Chandravali, but Chandravali, Raghunath Das Goswami was not at all happy about that. So we want to know who to follow in the line with and why. It's just a general guideline, but we're driving the car ourselves, and it's going to manifest Name Prasvatito Hai Rupa Guna Karma from the holy name. We just depend upon Krishna and we do service. Whereas Dhyan Chandra Goswami's Padati, which is largely the system the Babajis follow in different places in Navadvip and Jagannath Puri and in Vrindavan, it's an external path. External in the sense that they're not relying on Krishna to give them realizations, but they're artificially, externally trying to adopt it. Does that make sense, Krishna Kwan?
Yeah, I didn't realize that he was basically giving like Ekala Shabab for each gopi. I didn't realize that. Yeah, thank you. That makes sense.
Interesting thing about history, isn't it? We should know something about it. Okay, Lila Purushottam Prabhu. You want to share something? We put you. See, anybody, if you don't show your face and we can't add you, we're going to add, you get to see the beautiful smiling face of Lila Purushottam. Hare Krishna Tirthakar Prabhu, thank you.
What comes to my mind in that regard actually is, yeah, I will not hide anything. I will just say it as the history goes for me. That I was once asking a very similar question to Prem Prayojan Prabhu in a personal discussion, and he helped me a lot with because we're like, as we hear those words used, then we may mix the terms, but as the Gaur Govinda Archan Smaran Padati, what it says to us actually is that it's archana, like from the Navavidha Bhakti, it's archana, and part of that archana is prescribed smaran, but it's not that smarana which is described in a different features, different way by Jiva Goswami in Bhakti Sandarbha. So in that because I was asking him, you know, how do we avoid kalpanam in our meditations when so many meditations are prescribed to us, even for the deity worship, like, you know, put the deities to sleep. So you touch their feet, you recite the mantras, and then the prescription goes, and meditate how you put Lord to sleep. And how is it not kalpanam in that way? I was asking, but he said that it's part of the archana.
Padati, part of the process.
Yeah, it's like it's part of that anga of the anga of archana, not of the smarana. Smarana is rather described in a different features by our acharyas.
Nice comment. That's great. Thank you very much. Beautiful. Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I was thinking, but maybe I will just move. I will, like we went like for the discussion, we went like that we've got so many informations about the Sakis for us to help our like appreciation for them and being more familiar with their positions, with their sevas and like that. And for me, what perfectly connects it in relationship to Narottam Das Thakur, why he's mentioning these names even actually and personalities like directly, is from his you know, Lalita Vishaka Sadi Adi Jatasaki Vrinda Agyai Koriba Seva Charanara Vinda. That's the standpoint of Narottam Das Thakur, preparing us to give us, like Radha Dasyam, to give us Manjari's approach, is that this is what Sakis are for us. We want to serve under their direction, under their guidance. That's their position, and that's why first we get the information how important they are for Radha Krishna and for their leelas, so that our desire to assist in Radha Krishna's leelas being genuine in a way that we understand that it's anugatya, that it's following in their footsteps and under their guidance, that we can aspire to get some service in their pastimes.
Oh, that's great. Good comment. Thank you. Okay, you finished?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Prabhu. Appreciate it. And Gorni Tai, Prabhu, do you want to share something? It's getting late for you.
Hare
Speak
Krishna.
loudly.
Hare Krishna, it's good?
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, my friend, who is also your friend, Yashodhara Prabhu, is sending you greetings.
Oh.
He is here with us in Mayapur, and we sometimes discuss about these topics which is going on, and also similar topics. Just yesterday we spoke about this Ujjwala Nilamani. He quoted almost the same. So it's beautiful to hear it again. So my understanding is that our process is like reformatting our heart. Means we have a false understanding of who we are, but we have a philosophical understanding who really we are, or what we want to become. And then we have to reform our heart, like means we have to melt the heart, have to form. And that is not an easy process. Like when you have a plant and you want to have a shape of the plant, it's not just one cut and you immediately have that form which you want, which is nourishing the good fruits. My grandfather was a gardener, so he taught me how to cut year after year the trees, which then ultimately gives the best fruit. So also we have to merge into process by the expert guide that how to change our identity. And that goes on when we are reading these transcendental topics, when we just absorb the topics and we don't have the anchor of false ego, which is keeping us back, then we can melt it, we can reform it by the hearing, by the persons who already have the spiritual forms. But always have to be careful that we keep the flexibility. So we keep that we will become what Krishna wants us to become, not what we imagine. Okay, I become Vishaka, I become someone. No, we listen that nature of the gopis, but because they have this spiritual mood, and that's affecting our heart and melting, and we slowly become like them. And that process we cannot force to become quicker and quicker. Just we have to do the process, and then whenever. So that's my understanding of why we read these topics, but very carefully, not to lose that balance that we try to imagine who are, and we go to that direction. Is this correct?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. It reminded me of a story that after my Guru Maharaj left, we were really hungry for association. And down in that time, 𝗣𝗿𝗺𝗺 Prabhu came, and we had some wonderful sangha with him. And he introduced me one day to one Babaji, who was a very old man, very senior to 𝗣𝗿𝗺 Prabhu. And 𝗣𝗿𝗺 Prabhu was very respectful of him because he'd been chanting 3 lakhs a day for over 50 years. He was quite a Namparayana sadhu. And so we associated a little bit with him. And later I could see 𝗣𝗿𝗺 Prabhu wasn't really that close with him, but he was just being respectful because that person was chanting like that. And one day that sadhu revealed to one of my friends, he said, I'm actually Lalita Sakhi. And when my friend mentioned something about that to me, I became very disturbed, and I went to 𝗣𝗿𝗺 Prabhu and said, he's saying, and 𝗣𝗿𝗺 Prabhu became furious and said some things. So anyway, and Prabhupada says something like that also. Not that someone may become a gopi, but it's not that we become the Astasakis or Radha and Krishna. Astasakis are specific Shaktis of Radha and Krishna, and it doesn't mean that Prabodhananda Saraswati, Tunga Vidya doesn't come, or I don't know who else was Tunga Vidya.
Sudan or the Vakreshwar
𝗍𝗿𝗺, yeah. Depending on your perspective, doesn't mean that they're not going to come in Krishna Lila, but generally that's a real heavy thing for someone to come and say that they're one of the Asasakis or like that. Hare Krishna. Don't do that. It's not cool. Okay. Thank you, Gwanitai Prabhu. Siddha Hari Prabhu. Jai Gaur, we're going to have a talk with Jai Gaur. I'm looking at you, Siddha Hari Prabhu, and you look too thin. I don't think he's been force feeding you the burfies, has he? No.
No, the issue is that Prabhu, he himself doesn't eat at all. He barely wakes up. Like, he's barely awake. I mean, he's barely in the temple. To be clear, most of them is outside, either chanting Harinam or chanting Japa. So he can barely eat himself. What to take of feeding me? I'm feeding him actually. I bring him khichdi. I bring him prasadam. So it's quite the opposite here.
You should go out sometime and get a big bucket of ice cream, like a 2-gallon bucket or something, and split it between the two of you or something.
Okay, so we take it as your instruction. I'll do it.
I'm lucky. I'm trying to follow Srila Prabhupada. And Leela Purushottam is very kind for that. So you have some reflection, Prabhuji, something?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. So I was 2 things I wanted to say. I mean, I had one question, and also I wanted to check your opinion on one subject matter. So when we were reading this, the different qualities and natures of service of Ashtasakis, they're very sweet to hear about. However, my mind is very chanchal. It moves very fast. I'm thinking, how can I integrate somehow these meditations into my life? And one way I was thinking was that when we just the one I read was for Indulekha, how Indulekha's service is to offer water to Radha and Krishna. So I was thinking, when I offer water to my deities, I can meditate and I can pray to Indulekha. Hey, dear Indulekha, it's your service to offer this water to Shri Shri Radhesham. If you may allow, I would like to offer this water under your guidance. Something like that can be said. Is that appropriate to think in this manner?
You can think about how Indulekha offers water, and with such care and attention, and how she's very careful with getting water. Maybe she put rose water in it, or she lets it sit in the sun in a glass jar or something to absorb some of the rays of the sun. And the water is a certain temperature. It's not cold when it's cold. It's nice and warm. It's cool during the hot time, like that. Thank you, Gwanitai Prabhu. Hare Krishna. I'm sleeping. So yeah, I think that's very nice. And that'll happen naturally. When we hear more about these different gopis, we're definitely we'll think about them and we'll remember them in our service, and it affects our service.
And then a question I had was, which is like when we hear about these personalities, like today you also read this quote that without the mercy of Radharani, we cannot get the mercy from Krishna. And it's by mercy of Radharani that one gets the association of the Manjaris or the Sakhis. So, but then we had to hear the other way also, that one cannot get mercy of Radharani unless one get the mercy of the Sakhis. And then coming down the line, we cannot get the mercy of them until we get the mercy of our Guru Parampara coming in, until we get the mercy of our Guru Maharaj. So like when we hear about these different personalities, can they bestow mercy? Would they bestow mercy individually, or is it always in a sequential manner? That first the mercy has to come from Guru, because Guru is the representative of Krishna in our lives. So our soul, you can say, touch with this ocean of mercy is through our Guru only. How do I understand that topic?
It's circular. The mercy is circular, goes in a circle, that we get the mercy of our Guru, and Gurudev introduces us to some associates of the Lord, who introduce us to higher associates of the Lord. And then when we get that, then we go back to our Gurudev with what we've gotten. And Gurudev then becomes pleased. That's a circular thing. As far as we begin with Guru, although Guru Padashraya, Rupa Goswami says that in the beginning we have Guru Padashraya, we take shelter of Gurudev. But to say that we cannot get mercy before then of Indulekha, Chitrasakhi, or in these other gopis or anything, I don't agree with that. Obviously, someone can go on parikrama and they can get some mercy, but you don't have the right to enter into Chitrasakhi's sangha unless you're entering through Guru. And Gurudev takes us by the hand and he brings us there. But we may get mercy from so many different persons. We may get mercy from Krishna, but that mercy will manifest in the form of Sri Gurudev if we're sincere. And if we're not sincere, there are some Vaishnavas who don't appreciate the six Goswamis or the Asasakis, and they just go directly to Krishna. Mirabai, a lot of people say she's a great devotee. Bhaktivinoda Thakur rejected her. Is because she doesn't worship Radharani, she doesn't worship the Sakis or the Manjus, she just goes directly to Krishna. And she's a great devotee, but that's not our program. We want to take that mercy and apply that in this way. And this is this anugatya, this mood of anugatya, this mood of Manjari Bhav. This is an arpita chiryam chirat kuruna. This is what Mahaprabhu came to give, which had not been given in a long, long time before. You're still in Brooklyn?
I will be here for next couple of months until March end.
What, you going out in Harinam or doing some other service?
Yeah, I'm doing Harinam. That's what I'm doing every day. He goes for like, Jaguar goes for like 7 hours and he just set up. I go for 6. So I'll go in a half an hour or so.
It's really wonderful. I see the little clips and things every day on Facebook and do my service like Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Really appreciate your katha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else with anything you want to share? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and stop. It's nice to see you, Hari Chandra Prabhu. All right. Gauranga Nityananda, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Radha Shyam Sundar ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol, Vancha Kalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhubhye Vicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo.